An 18-year-old boy named Liam was home alone for a whole week when his dad and stepmom went on their honeymoon. While playing video games in his brother's old bedroom, who had since moved out, he could hear a kind of scraping noise that seemed to be coming from outside. The strange thing was, this room was on the second floor, so it seemed odd to hear something scraping against the walls from outside. He tried to ignore it by turning the video game volume up louder, but the scraping sounds only became more apparent. He decided to finally look out the window, but it was too dark to really see anything. He left the window open a crack to better hear the noise if it persisted. Liam spun around and discovered the window was now wide open, and someone was crawling into the room through it. He was able to push the intruder back out the window before he could fully make it into the room. The man fell 2 stories down into the bushes below. Apparently, he wasn't too injured, as he was gone within minutes. During a rainy night in central Islip on Long Island, a teenager named Ian was home alone. So he invited his friend Carl over. Carl texted that he would be over in 2 minutes. Ian prepared the video games he planned on playing with Carl and then heard the gate to the backyard close. Confused as to why Carl would go out back, Ian went into the backyard. His shed door was open, with the light on. As he called out Carl's name and walked toward the shed, the light inside suddenly turned off. Simultaneously, Ian received a text from Carl saying, "I'm here." Ian responded, "Are you in the shed?" Carl replied back, "I'm at the front door." As Ian looked up, the door to the shed pulled shut with force. Ian ran back into the house and let Carl in. When the police responded to Ian's call, they checked the shed, found the door was open again, and that nobody was inside. 45-year-old Chris was supposed to be working late that night, so his family went out to eat dinner without him. However, he was unexpectedly able to come home early. As a result, he had the house to himself for a few hours. He went down to his man cave in the basement to watch TV. That was when he heard the backyard basement window flap open, and someone stuck their head inside, peering around the room. Chris hid behind the couch until the person shut the window. He ran upstairs with a baseball bat and shut off all the lights. He waited in the kitchen, which was near the back door. Suddenly, somebody reached their arm through the pet door in an attempt to unlock the door. Chris swung the baseball bat as hard as he could at the person's arm, causing them to scream and flee. That same night, sirens roared down the street and stopped at a house in the neighborhood. It turned out one of Chris's neighbors, 3 doors down, had been murdered. When the wife came home, she found the house ransacked with valuables missing, and her husband dead on the kitchen floor with a stab wound in the back of his head. A young girl named Anne was home alone one snowy Friday night. Her parents were out to dinner, and her sister was out with friends. She was taking a nap on her bed when she awoke to a thump. She was sure it came from her closet door. She got up and bravely opened it. There didn't seem to be anyone inside, so she closed the closet and spun around. There, she saw a head under the bed. The head of a man looking at her with an expressionless stare. She fell to the floor screaming. That's when the closet doors behind her opened, and someone grabbed her and pulled her in. The man from under the bed emerged and approached her as she was being held down. The two of them carried her downstairs, where they put tape over her mouth and tied her arms together. One of them checked to make sure the coast was clear before carrying her outside, where they planned to put her in the trunk of their car. However, about halfway to their car, a large group of teenagers came riding by on their bikes and witnessed it all. Some of them were screaming for help, while others got off their bikes and started to slowly approach the two men. Knowing they wouldn't get away with it now, the men dropped Anne, jumped into their car, and sped away. She was completely awake and conscious throughout all of this. It's unknown why they didn't just tie her up while she was sleeping. The most realistic possibility is that they simply wanted to scare the girl. This may seem like a crazy, rare occurrence, and you may even call it fake, but things like this happen all the time and are commonly shown on the news. Perhaps they're just the stories we forget about. 22-year-old Garber still lived with his parents. He was the youngest of 3, so his 2 siblings had already moved out, and his parents were out 3 to 4 nights a week. One particular stormy night, he was home alone in his room when he could swear he heard something hit his window. It wasn't insanely weird, as the weather was bad and something may have just blown into the window. However, a second thud sent his heart racing. He lifted his blinds and could see someone standing out there. Even through the damp windows and pouring rain, he knew he didn't recognize the person. He shut the blinds to send the message to go away. However, he wasn't even able to move away from the windowsill before something else was thrown at the window. Garber opened the blind, and this time even the window, and shouted, "What do you want?" The man down below called back, "Come outside, I want to show you something." Garber went downstairs to call the police. They asked him if he was sure he didn't know the person, whether they had caused any damage. The 911 operator told Garber to call back if the person continued to harass him or showed signs of wanting to break in. Garber hung up the phone. He wanted to get a better view from the kitchen, so he opened the kitchen blinds. Garber immediately called the police right back and informed them that the man was now standing at his kitchen window and to send somebody right away. The next time he looked at the kitchen window, the man was gone. That was the last time Garber ever saw him.